to Musings by Nikki. Today we are doing part 3, un, deux, trois. We're doing the third part of creating, hold on, our Bi-Fold-Folio double journal cover. Boy, that's a mouthful. But right now we are this far. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, and you want to learn more about what this is and what we're doing, there are parts 1 and 2 where we create this so far. And now we're going to take the traveler's notebook-ish, notebook-sized thing that's going to go in here, and we need to create its cover. So it needs to have its own cover before it can go in, before it can go in to there, because it doesn't have any sort of cover on it. So I've assembled most of the things that I think we're going to use. First, you need your signature. Now, I made 2 signatures and I didn't do them on camera, but I've made a lot of these ephemera pieces on camera. But it is a traveler's notebook, and we will get to measurements in just a minute. It's roughly the size of a traveler's notebook. And I've got the signature all made and decorated because that's the order that I usually work in. And we're going to make a cover to house it in today. So you're going to need your signature. Then these are the tools you're going to need. I'm going to be using my 2.5 inch punch, round punch. That's just my largest circle punch. Then I'm going to be using my handy dandy, always near me 1 inch punch as well. We'll be using that today. We'll be using my crocodile. Oh my gosh. We'll be using the crocodile, but any hole punch would work. We're going to use our craft knife. So if you have one of those, a ruler, or any sort of straight edge, some washi. I may or may not use this one. Otherwise, this is full sheet label paper, sticker paper, and I just printed a sheet of Tracy Fox's random or various backgrounds. And so we're going to use either or. Probably this because it's wider. This isn't quite wide enough, and all of my wide washi is gone. Sadly, that's the ones that I use the most, and they're all gone. So I need to find some more. But some sort of washi or something like that. We will need either, so I'm going to use elastic string, and this one is a 2mm elastic bead cord. So I use this all the time. I buy this as like 8 yards of it, and it will take me forever to go through 8 yards of it. So we're going to use this as our closure. You could use twine or string or yarn or silk. We'll get to that when we get there. Then I am going to use some of my book tape today just to reinforce the spine. You don't have to use this. Actually, you don't have to use any sort of tape. You could use some more of the washi, you could use duct tape, masking tape, anything like that, even some Scotch tape. I'm just going to use it to reinforce the inside of the spine to make sure that the, book after lots of wear and tear doesn't pull through. Then you need whatever kind of paper you're going to use for the front and back cover. So I'm using some, just some sheets of Tim Holtz here, right? So that's what I've got. And I'm going to use these. You want 12 by 12 pieces. So 12 by 12 scrapbook pieces, or anything that's at least 12 inches wide. And then I've got a couple of little random offcut pieces here we're going to use to create some elements on the cover. And then I've got a giant tag. And you can certainly cut a giant tag out or whatever you want to do. I've just got this big one because I've got a bunch of these giant tags. So, all right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to know how big our traveler's notebook is so we can start, figuring out where to put the folds and everything. So mine measures, I'm just measuring down here on my glass mat, and mine measures roughly 4.5. Now I want to make sure that it's going to cover the edge because it's going to have a wrap around, just like our big journal does. This is going to have a wrap around as well. So I want to make sure, first of all, I don't have anything really sticking out or protruding, but I want to make sure that I give myself just a little bit of space beyond this so it doesn't press on the pages or anything. So I think if I go 4.5, I should be good. And then height is 8 3/4. So we'll probably go 9 so that there's a little bit of headroom and foot room. So I'm going to go, oh, I'm sorry, not 9, 8. It's 7 3/4. I'm so used to it being 8 and something, but it's not. The book itself is 7 3/4. So I'm going to go 8. So we'll go 8 by 4.5 or just over 4.5. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is get my paper cutter out. Oops. And I'm going to cut my paper down lengthwise. Let me pull my guide out. And I've got to decide which one is going to be my cover. I think that one was going to be my cover. And I think this will be the inside, like that. Right? Yeah. Okay, so I need to cut the tops off, both of them. I'll just do it at the same time because I want them to both be the same height. So I said 8, right? 8 inches. Make sure I've got them both oriented the right way in there. 8 inches. If you cut them both at the same time, then you know for sure they're going to be the same height. That's good. So that's my outside, and they're going to go inside together like this, but we're going to cut this one down slightly. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, we're going to keep your paper cutter handy because we're going to use it in a second. But I'm going to give my cover piece, I'm going to give it a crease just where I want it to be able to fold. And that's just because I have a tendency when you fold this, it has a tendency to want to, break from the printing, the tension of the ink and stuff on there. It wants to break and leave little jagged edges and stuff along the fold. So if you score it, you definitely get a nicer, cleaner fold. So I'm going to do that. So what did I say? Just over 4.5. So I'm going to go to 4.5. And then I'm going to go over a couple of bumps here, right? So let's go 4 5/8, 4 6/8. Let's do that. Let me just double check. Now I'm second guessing myself. Am I doing this right? 4 and, nope, I think 4 5/8 would be good. So I'm just going to put a crease in here. And that will create my front and back cover. So that's my front. And then this is my back cover. And then this is going to be the fold over. So now I'm going to put my crease in there. And now when I fold it, since I've done that, it's going to give me a nice clean edge. And that's what I want. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to go to 4 5/8 again. And put another crease in. But this is going to be a flap that rolls over. So just like on, let me grab it, just like we did here when we created this fold in order to train it so that it wants to roll nice, like a nice rounded corner, rather than getting any hard creasing there, we're going to put score marks in here as well. So I've just put in my score for like officially the front and back cover, right? So now I've got Now I've got my journal will go in there like that, right? But then we want this to wrap around, but we want it to do nice rather than hit any of those and get a hard crease. So in order to do so, I'm going to go back to 4 5/8 here where I've got my first one. So I've got my first one there, and then I'm going to go ahead and go every 1/8 of an inch where I can put in a crease. I'm going to put in some creases. Oops. And this just trains our paper nicely, and it makes it so that it will have a nice, it'll have a nice round, you know, roll over. It'll be able to release that tension on the fold over part. So I lost track of how many I've put in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's put one more. There's 7. Let's put 8. Okay. So now I've got all of my score marks in. I'm going to put this over here. And then what I do is I take this over the edge of my desk and I kind of round it around over the edge of my desk. So you can't really see what I'm doing, but I am just rounding it off to kind of train it, rolling it over the edge and back. So it kind of trains it to be this nice round edge like that, right? So that's going to be what goes here. But now, because that's going to get stress and abuse and stuff, we want to put some protection, and that's where the washi comes in. So since I did 8, my washi, when I look at it, is not wide enough for the score marks. So that's where my other stuff comes in. I'm going to just sticker some of this right on there, because it will give it just some, it'll still allow it to be flexible. It'll be cute, but it will also just give it some reinforcement. But before we get to that step, I want to cut my inside piece down as well. So we went over 4 5/8, right? Is that what I did? 4 5/8. So I want to go 4 5/8, then 4 5/8, and I want to cut it just shy of this. So this one is 4 5/8 from where the spine will be to my first score mark is 4 5/8 again. So I'm going to cut that back, because this back side is going to become a pocket. So we want it to go the full width of the front, and then we want it to stop shy here. So I'm going to go 4 1/4. So it'll stop shy. So here we get our paper cutter back out. All right, and then I'm going to flip it over so I can go 4 5/8, right as there. And oh, I should be putting the score in. Let me put the score in first. Hold on. Switch tools. This just helps me, so I don't have to try and add 5/8 and 1/4 in my head, which I should be able to do more easily, but I'm a crafter, not a mathematician. So I'm going to just put in my fold mark here at 4 5/8. And that way I know where to measure from. Okay. Oops. I always have to remember to put that back in, or I will totally lose it and leave it somewhere else. Okay, now back to our cutting. So we've got our 4 5/8, and then I'm going to go whoops, I'm going the wrong way here. From my fold, I want to go 4.5. Raise, oh no, I said 4.25. Call. 4.25. All right, now I don't think we'll need this for a while. So I'm going to put it back down under. So now we've got our top piece that will go here, and that will connect with this, or, you know, combine with this. We're going to make a pocket to put that big tag in on the front. That'll be the front cover. Then this will be the back cover, and here's where our bend is. So we're going to turn this into a pocket on the back. So a couple things. First, because this is going to be a pocket, I want to punch a big thumb hole. So I just eyeball. You can measure if you want to, but you know, I just don't do that. So there we go with that. That makes my pocket just, you know, it makes the little thumb hole there. And we're going to ink all of this too in a second. Then I want to, on this fold on the inside here, on either this piece or this piece, but I think I'll do it on, actually let's do it on the inside piece. This is where I'm going to use my book tape just to reinforce where I'm going to be binding through. I'm not going to run the whole width or length, excuse me, of the paper. And I'm just going to go over the edge where I know I'll be binding through. And this is just because then it gives it more stability. So I'm not just binding through 2 layers of cardstock, but I just know that, you know, if somebody really, I want people to really use my journals, right? So now when we bind, we'll bind through this cardstock, that tape, and the outside cardstock. So that'll be more stability, right? Plus it'll just give, you know, more wear to the opening and closing of the cover over the years. So we're good. Now the next thing we want to do, we created the pocket here. Now we want to create this pocket on the front. We're going to create a tall pocket, and I can't ever remember what these are called, but we're going to create this tall pocket. Oh snap! It's okay. We can put a piece here. You might see this book tape through when part of the reason for putting this here is that we might, but I don't want to see the book tape through, but we might, but who cares? We'll deal. So we're going to create a tall pocket to stick this tag into. We're going to have to cut the tag down just slightly, but what we want to do is create a pocket. And so we're going to create that little opening here. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to take my scraps, and I want a color that's a scrap color that's definitely like different than this, you know, darker or something. So I've got these 2 pieces here. I've got these. I'm going to go with this because it's much darker. And now I want to measure, we're going to measure how wide we want our opening. So I'm going to say, let's do 3.5 inches of the opening. So we want a 4-inch like placket. So 4 inches wide. And now I do need my paper cutter again. I lied. We need the paper cutter again. Okay, so we're going to cut 4 inches long. And then let's make it to, let's do 2 inches. No, we want 1 inch. One inch tall. So we've got 4 by 1. And we'll cut our tag down in a little bit here. Then we want to round our corners. Again, this is a step you don't have to do, but I like doing it. I think it makes it look nicer and more finished in this project. Okay, so this is going to go on here, and then that's going to be the placket, but we have to create the slit in there as well. But before I do any of that, I am going to ink the edges of this just because I can see the white core of the paper. And if I forget to do this, it'll make me crazy forever. I'll set that aside because we'll be using that again soon. So we're going to put this on here, glue this on here, and then we're going to create the hole through it. So let's just go ahead and glue it on. And again, I am eyeballing. I'm just going to try and get it as centered as I can between my fold and the edge, and then as straight as I can, you know, to the top. And I'm probably 3/4 of an inch down from the top. So there we go. You've got that. I'm going to cap my glue. So now to create the slit that the card will go through, we're going to use this trick that I found from, I believe it was Nick the Booksmith that I saw this from. So what she does is punches, oh, this has got to come down a little here. She punches 2 holes. Oh no, is it all the way down? Oh, there. I was going to say, I feel like I should be able to get there. Okay, yeah. She punches 2 holes. So the nice thing about the crocodile is if you can set this little thing so that it'll go the same depth on this side as it does on the other side. So I'm going to go almost to the edge, but not quite. And then I'm going to go almost to this edge, but not quite, and it'll make it the same depth. Okay, so we've got our 2 holes, right? 2 holes. There and there. And now is why we're going to use our craft knife. We're going to use our craft knife and our straight edge. Why is that loose? There we go. And what I'm going to do is line my straight edge up with the very bottom of the hole on both sides. The very, very bottom of the hole. Very bottom of the hole, very bottom of the hole. And then I'm going to make a cut. And make sure not to over pull. You should, once you hit the circle, your knife should release. Now I'm going to go up to, well, I'm going to flip it around because I find it easier to do the bottoms of the holes like this way. So again, I'm going to line it up with the very bottom of this hole, the very bottom of that hole, and slice through again. And that came free right away, I believe. And that creates us this very nice rounded off edges slot. Isn't that awesome? This cool slot pocket. That was a Nick the Booksmith trick. So we've got this really cool little slot pocket that I'm pretty sure you're going to see the book tape through. Yep, I can see the book tape through. And when we pull the tag out, I don't want to see the book tape. So what I'm going to do is put a piece. I've got just some cut off pieces over here, like this kind of jazz. So I'm going to just put a piece on here. I'm going to cut this off. Hopefully you don't have to do this part because you're smart and don't. Put the book tape on this side, not this side. Put it on the front. I want to make sure I'm getting into the right spot there. If I go up a little. Oh well, it just reinforces it, you know? So let's just double check here. All the glue is still wet. Yeah, that's perfect. Now when you look through that little slot, you just see this paper rather than seeing some of the book tape. Oh well. All right, now next step is oops, what am I doing here? Now the next step is I am going to ink around the edges of all of this, and then we're going to talk about sewing. So I will fast forward through me inking because, again, some things you just don't need to watch. So I'll do this. All right, as I was doing that, two things that I realized I needed to do before we do this. First, I want to I want to miter these corners a little bit, but we also I forgot to cut down and put some of that washi sticker paper on there. So I'm going to measure how wide I want that to be. Probably, so my creases are 1 inch, so I'm going to go 1.5 inches. So let me do 1.5 inches wide strip of this. Inch. And half over here. All right. Oh, I can just cut the edges off. All right, and I'm gonna put it on the inside of my cover where, so now I just gotta peel it off. I'm trying to decide if I want to try and tear the edge a little. I should have inked the edges before I'm just gonna try and ink the edges quick. So hopefully you're following along, not in real time, and you remember ink the edges before you take off the sticker paper. Or maybe you don't want to, inking the edges doesn't matter to you. I'm just gonna put it on as is. So I'm just going to make sure that I cover all of my little score marks and put it on there. And that's, again, just going to give these score marks some stability. And then I'm going to trim the ends off. Oh no, now it's stuck to there we go. And I'm going to ink the ends where I just cut. Make sure those look nice. And then I want to miter those edges in just slightly right here. So I'm going to just do the first one. And what I'm doing is going from the last score mark, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and then we'll use that piece to cut this corner exactly the same. So you flip it over and then cut along that edge. There we go. And then I'm going to have to ink that again because I forgot. As I was inking, I was like, wait, I want to miter that corner. Underside and top side. Okay, now we're ready for next steps. So we're going to sew on this one. I'm going to sew around the front cover like this, right? So I'm going to sew around that front cover, and then I'm going to sew around this whole piece right here. Okay, and that will create this pocket. However, I want this edge to look like it's sewn too. So first thing I'm going to do is go sew right along here. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, now I have sewn along that edge, so that way when I sew here, that will look finished. It'll match it, right? So I'm going to do this. This is where my book tape is, and I've got that crease in, but I'm going to put the crease in this way too really quick, because I find this is kind of another trick here. If I ink along this edge, then it shows me, it gives me that nice solid line. It gives, you know, it's aesthetically pleasing, but it also shows me exactly where I want to be sewing. So like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is sew around this whole side, and that's the cover, and that's going to create this pocket as well. Okay, so I'm going to do just like I did on our cover. I'm going to sew through it once on this side and then once from this side, and that way we'll get the nice, I'm going to do that same trick right here. That way we'll get the, you know, a nice looking layer of stitches on both sides. So all the way around the front side. I'll do that and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I have gone around the edges here. I did it on the front and I did it on the back. I'm going to do my trick with just the leftover ink that's on here, and I'm going to go right around over those stitches to try and hide any of the white paper core that kind of pokes through, and that just gives it a little bit of a finished look. Because, you know, when you sew on paper that has a white paper core, sometimes you get the little fringy things, and that just takes care of them. Okay, so I've got that part done, and now we've created our big slot pocket here, and we'll cut our tag down because clearly it's not going to fit through there. So we've got to take a little off the edges and probably take some height off. But we'll do that in a second. Now, to create this pocket, we don't want to go around just this, because we want this to stay open, and we want to go around here. So we're going to go down this spine and then up. I'm going to go right across and follow my flap around and then come back down. And I'm going to do that on this side, and then I'm going to flip it over and do it on the other side. And that's how I get that nice kind of finished look. Now, I was thinking about it as I was sewing. I might put a little line of stitching or zigzagging down the sides of this while this is still open. I think I'm going to put a little line there. It'll provide some interest on the outside, but it will also just kind of make it look nice on the inside, I think. So I'm going to do that probably, and then I'm going to go. Remember, the whole thing. Don't go around this way because you'll sew your pocket shut. So go around the whole thing. I'm going to do that, and I will be right back. Okay, guys. So I've got my pocket I've sewn around. I'm going to use the edge here to just go around make sure I don't have any little, you know, paper core fuzzies sticking out. And this is a grungy, messy project, and so I'm leaving all my little strings hanging on. I'm just trimming them down so they're not superly long obnoxious, but I kind of like all the strings hanging out. So I'm going to put that back in there. And then I'm going to re-round my corner. I'm just going to roll that back over my desk, the edge of my desk here, since I put that washi on. So I want it to be nice and round like that, and look at that, works perfect. And I can kind of feel the creases through that washi, but I feel better about having that there so it's nice and reinforced. Now I'm going to crease, put the bend back in here, and it's going to feel a little bit stiff because I've got that book tape in there. So I just want to make sure that I am doing it nice and even, so that my ends, you know, are matched up well here. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and give it a really nice burnish down there. There we go. So we've got our front cover, and that's got our pocket there, and our back cover with our pocket in it. And then this is going to roll around and close the whole thing off. Now we need a closure. So we're going to create an elastic closure to go around the whole thing. But again, we want to, instead of just poking a hole or putting an eyelet, I like to set it off a little. So we're going to use, I think this should be different enough, yeah. And I'm going to make 2 1-inch punches. With my 1-inch hole punch, obviously. And then I'm going to ink around those edges. Oh, it's getting a little dry. And then these are going to be, not only are they going to be just kind of reinforcers, but they'll also just look nice, right? So, all right. So I'm going to glue my first one on the front. And again, I'm kind of just eyeballing. Middle-ish, you know. And then I'm not going to just, well, no. Yeah, it's kind of hard to make sure you're getting it in the right spot. And so my trick that I usually do to prevent that, or to at least help me, is I will set my guide to be halfway. Nope, it needs to go up a little. Nope, one more click, I think. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, on this tool, this is a crocodile, so it punches 2 sizes of holes and then it sets snaps and eyelets and stuff. So you can move this bottom guide up and down so that you can punch to a certain depth, and there's measurements here, which I rarely use. I just use it so that I'm kind of making sure I'm the same distance. So there we go. I've got my hole there, and then I'm going to make sure I punch the same hole here, and that way when I put this on the back I can line up the hole, and then they're perfectly over top each other rather than me guessing and having one of them get really wonky. All right, I'm going to press that down and cap my glue. And take a little sip of my water because my throat feels dry. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. Now I think I'm going to put an eyelet through there. So let me grab one out here. Let's go, I don't know, maybe a shiny copper one might be kind of fun. Oh my gosh, well, I just throw them all over my desk. I think I'm going to do a shiny copper one because I'm in the mood for that. So I'm going to set that with the same tool. Oops, it just came out. There we go. Now we have got our little eyelet, and then we're going to use our elastic cord, which, where did I put it? Right here, to make a closure. And we probably, well, you know me, what I want to do is make it long enough that it will go through here, and then it's going to go up and around and over the top. So I'm going to say I'm going to cut mine way longer than I think I need. And then both of these ends will go through the front, through from the front to the back. And then we'll just be tying a little knot back there, because we want is this to be able to come over the top and go around the whole thing. So we won't know exactly how long we want that until we've bound in our signature. But at this point, our cover is pretty much finished. So all we need to do is cut down this tag to fit inside there. So what did I say this was? How long is this hole? The slot is like exactly 4, well, so I want it to be shorter though. 3, I mean 3, I think if my tag is 3 1/4, 3 1/4. And right now I believe it's 4 inches. So if I want it to be 3 1/4, let's take 1/4 inch off each side. Let's take just over 1/4 inch off each side. And that pretty much just squared it off up on top. So we can re-miter those edges, but let's make sure it fits in. Oh, nope, it's still a little wide. So I'm gonna just take a hair off of both sides again. Gotta take it off both sides equally, because otherwise your hole will be wonky in the middle there. I can hear my girls out there laughing like something must be pretty funny. Okay, that fits better. And then it's just a little too tall, so I'm going to take we'll do 1/2 inch off the bottom. That's better. Now I'm going to, rather than remiter the corners, I'm just going to round all the edges. This manila, this is like, oh, thicker than your average manila tag. Something stuck in there. Okay, there we go, guys. She fits down in there nice. Now that all that's left is to bind our signature in, and look at how cute that's gonna be, right? And actually, even though this is technically the front, this is the part you're going to see, because, and I've explained this in the other videos too, it's gonna slide in this way because the bulk of it is on this side and the bulk of the single signature is on this side, and that balances it out a little. But this will slide right under here. I have to be careful doing this because I haven't bound my journal and I don't want to mess anything up. It's just all loosely held together, but look at that. It fits right in there. Look at that. How cute. And then this will come over and close. That's the closure that's supposed to be around this. And then we just have to bind our single signature through here, and then bind our Traveler's Notebook signature through here. So I have other videos on how to bind books, and And I don't know that I'm gonna need to walk you guys through here, and there's lots of them. I do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So maybe I will film that right now, but I'll just do it in fast forward if there's enough time at the end of this video. If this video is too long, then I will just do it in just a separate video or something. But I'm gonna bind this in here, and then I will bind, actually maybe I'll do a separate video and we'll just bind them. You know what, since I'm trying to make this beginner friendly so that, you know, if you're a beginner, you can do something, you know, if you've gotten brave, that's what I was trying to go for. If you're that, make sure I talk through it well enough that anybody could do this. So in order to do that, why don't we bind them together? And that will just be the next video. So I'm going to stop this video and then I will start a new video and we will bind both our traveler's notebook and my signature that I have to go in here, because then we'll be totally ready. Oh my gosh, we're getting there, you guys. We're almost done. So thanks for joining me today, and I hope that you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, whatever time it is, on whatever side of this fantastic globe of ours that we all live on, that you live on, whatever side you live on. See, this will go around here like this someday when that tightens up. Anyway, I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and I hope that you're able to do something crafty, and that you are able to be with the ones that you love, and I hope that you're healthy and well and safe, and until I see you guys next time, take care, and God bless you. Bye, guys.